Hello, YouTube. So, I wanted to bring my Aircraft 3 Leak Sword Plans video out ready. I'm so busy working on the guide. That will be finished before the leak comes out. It's a slow process working on it. It's a lot of work that I need to do. But I've spent pretty much the past few days, I didn't have access to my computer and was just spending the entire time like looking stuff up and just figuring out ideas for Aircraft 3. As well as just speaking to some very smart people and getting their, ideas for like potential builds and stuff for Aircraft 3. And I've decided to compile everything here that we've thought about so far. Maybe there's some stuff I'm missing, but don't worry about it too much. So I think there's going to be two pretty generic setups for EF3. Either you're going to use a Sleep Strike skill, and most likely if you use a Sleep Strike skill, it's going to be Berserking Blade. For one reason only. Berserking Blade scales off of skill AoE, and, it has the Rampage support, which scales off of skill AoE, which makes it very, very strong. Because Vendetta's hero trait itself also scales off skill AoE. So you're very incentivized as Aircraft 3 to gain access to skill AoE. Because Vendetta has 100% skill bonus area applies to Vendetta. So by default, the skill only has a range of 8 meters, which is quite tiny. But you can scale up to 300% to make it a 32-meter skill. And 32 meters is just gigantic in this game. And then the alternative option is combo skills. I think this actually... combo skills seem very interesting. But just as a note for combo skills, if you do go combo skills, there's like two ways to scale combo skills. You can... most people, when they scale combo skills, they scale the combo starter and the combo finisher. You need to scale the finisher only, because the way that Vendetta's thing works is you're using your Vendetta as a trigger. So instead of using like an activation medium and then, using your combo skill 3 times, getting the full combo out, you're just spamming Vendetta and then it's doing the combo. But most combo skill starter scaling is via like attack speed, giving yourself additional attack speed for your combo starter, doing all those things. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is Vendetta. You're scaling Vendetta's attack speed because that is the only thing that matters. So any attack speed scaling that is specific to like combo skills just doesn't do anything for Vendetta, and Vendetta is what we're using to trigger the combo skills. So you only want to scale the combo finisher. Then here's the setup. So for every single build, you're gonna have access to. You're gonna scale it in the same way, okay? You're gonna do the very generic stuff of you have to dual wield. You're gonna do first dual wield scaling with joint forces, and maybe conspire. I probably won't be using it though. You're gonna be doing fervor scaling with ghost slaughters. And this also doubles up as AoE scaling. If you are using combo skills, you actually do not need to do Ghost Slaughter Fervor scaling. You can reasonably use Demon's Touch instead, for example. We're going to do Warcry scaling, because Warcries are just absolutely overtuned right now. Same with Fervor, it's just absolutely overtuned. And then we're just going to do the generic stuff. You're going to scale crit, you're going to scale AoE, you're going to scale movement, so you're going to scale attack speed. Just all those things that you do in any good build, right? So all of these kind of leave an area in the build where you can just stuff some more in. Like this is all works well together, but then there's like this gap where there's like you can just get something more of the build. What is that something more that you want to pull out of it? So the first setup that I thought about was just tenacity stacking. Tenacity stacking is very, very powerful. This is making use of Magnus Laws, which gives you tenacity, like additional fire damage for every stack of tenacity blessing, and flat fire damage for every stack of tenacity blessing. The main thing we kind of want is this though, if you were to Vorax it. And the main reason, if you were to do tenacity stacking, I do think combo skills are going to be a bit stronger than Sleep Strike skills, just because you kind of want Ghost Slaughters if you do Sleep Strike skills, because you're going to go Berserking Blade, right? And you're scaling skill area. But if you're doing tenacity stacking, you're kind of a bit overwhelmed by all the good mods you want on the gloves. and you're either forced into making a Vorax chest, which is kind of suboptimal to make, or you just say, screw the ghost soldiers, we're just going to take Magnus Laws, and Fervor is like mostly going to be for defense scaling, not for offense. So I think that's like an okay option to go for if you do tenacity stacking. There's deck stacking, the most generic build ever. So tenacity stacking's big benefit is how much defense it gives you. So if you go into the Brave tree as a tenacity stacker, there's actually a point here called Resolve, which gives you 4% additional armor per stack of tenacity blessing. If you make yourself a giga like armor chest, you take all the armor points and nodes in like the Brave, and then on top of all of that, you also take this 40% defense again from chest armor. With your giga like armor chest, you easily can have like over 50,000 armor. Then you equip Resolve, and you have 13 tenacity blessings, and all of a sudden, you have 80,000 armor. And you just like so easily can reach 80% DR of armor. It's really, really powerful. But it comes at the cost of mobility, because if you do deck stacking, you get mobility. You get 3,000 dexterity, you equip your corroded Ralph's Journey, and boom, you just have 200% movement speed, baseline. Deck stacking is just always going to be the fastest build. And even though it's Steep Strike and Combat Skills, there is a reason to go Thunderspike if you do deck stacking. Deck stacking and Thunderspike has always been going hand in hand. I personally will never do this. I hate Thunderspike, but yeah, if you want to do that instead of a combo skill or a Steep Strike skill, you can do it. Then there's also Magus stacking. So Meta are actually really interesting in this game. Mega kind of fix a lot of issues all at once. Even if it aren't necessarily issues that your bolt will have, in the sense that Megases give you defense to hit damage, to dot damage, they give you life regeneration, they give you additional attack and cast speed, they give you additional damage, and they give you a ton of flat crit. And we really care about that flat crit board, especially, because Vendetta actually synergizes extremely well with crit. That's why we want to do further scaling in this character, by the way. That's why I kept saying like you were just going to do further on every character, on every setup. Because on Vendetta's hero trait, on the last part of hero trait, she actually has access to this. Ooh, give me a sec. Vendetta has a 1% chance to trigger the main skill attack an additional time for each % effective crit chance. And Vendetta has 1% chance to trigger your main melee attack skill an additional time for every 0.5% excess crit up to 100%. What that essentially means is if you get 50% overcapped crit, so if you reach 150% crit rating, so 1500 crit rating to be precise, you will basically just deal double damage. Getting that extra 5000 crit rating is just dealing double damage. Because Vendetta's the only skill you're going to be using in this character, and Vendetta's how you trigger your main skill. So having excess crit gives you double damage. And then if you also have access to this, it's even more than double damage, because it's triggering your main skill multiple times. But in terms of the excess crit, this is the only line we really care about. Then there's also the aura stacking setup. This is maybe what I'm going to be doing. I'm not completely sold on it yet, but it is like a very good whale setup. You know, it's just a super expensive setup. It's going to be very fun to do. It's going to be very powerful to do. We have the space for the mods. We can just like fit in sealed mana compensation everywhere. And then the last build, which is not one of these like generic builds, which does not fit like this, I guess, formula, is double thrust trauma E3, which I think looks insanely strong. I will not be playing this myself. I do know someone, a very close friend of mine, who is very, very smart, who's going to be playing it though. And the way the double thrust works is trauma got immensely buffed, or just all ailments in general got immensely buffed with the new patch. But trauma is one of the ailments that seemingly got a buff based off the numbers. And you will play double thrust. You'll focus on trauma scaling, but double thrust has access to a very specific support. Cutthroat. And what Cutthroat does is it reaps number to number seconds of damage over time when support skill hits only reaps trauma damage. So, double thrust is a shadow skill. What that means, a shadow strike skill, what that means is you can get additional shadows to attack multiple times. So if you have like +8 shadows, every time you're attacking, there's 8 shadows spawning and attacking the target, and those shadows deal 30% damage of like your main hit. But when you use double thrust cutthroat, those shadows reap for 100% of the damage. So every time you add a shadow, you're reaping for 100% of the trauma damage, which makes it a very, very powerful combo. And I think it's going to be very, very good to play on aircraft 3 as well. And it makes a lot of sense for trauma scaling, because if you do trauma scaling, you're also doing a lot of crit scaling and crit damage scaling, which is something you want on Vendetta. Then also some spicy ideas. Ignite also got heavily buffed. I think Hammer of Ash Ignite E3, it looks very interesting and it could be very strong. I don't know if Aircraft 3 is necessarily the best hero for the build though, but you can definitely do a setup similar to what like Lao P did this season with like being one Hammer of Ash. And Ignite just seems very, very powerful and worth doing. Now, by all technicalities, if you have 2 scepters in both hands, in this game you count as dual wielding. And if you have 2 pistols in both hands, you will also count as dual wielding. So it doesn't have to be ice shot, you can put any range skill here, but you can dual wield pistols on Aircraft 3. And the main benefit that I would really see in dual wielding pistols and using range skill is the way Vendetta works is you teleport on top of your enemy and attack them, right? If you're using a range skill full of projectiles that has a shotgun coefficient, you will always shotgun all of your projectiles. So I think this is a very spicy idea, but I think it in practice is actually going to be very good, and I'm probably going to do some testing with it once like the league is over and things, because I think it has a lot of potential, especially with the shotgunning. And then lastly, I put it on the spicy ideas. I don't think it's that spicy idea. I think it's actually just a very, very strong build. It's going to work very well. You can play Crescent Slash E3. I think Crescent Slash is like an extremely strong combo skill that works very well in E3. But you can also then play Deterioration Crescent Slash E3. And the reason for that is just Crescent Slash has access to Deterioration supports, so it makes a lot of sense to do it with Crescent Slash. And just in general, Deterioration is a very, very, very strong, how do you call it? Mechanic in the game. It is very overtuned, and pretty much any build that like puts Deterioration in it is very, very strong. But yeah, that's it for the build ideas. Lastly, if you're interested in Tangle at all, or like you're wondering about the new Arcanist band, whatever, just play G2. G2 got insanely, insanely buffed, and I think she's going to be the best Tangle user this patch. And no, you cannot Tangle spell. You cannot spellburst Tangle. It makes no sense to spellburst Tangle. Just don't do it. It doesn't make any sense. You don't do it. Okay. So here's my idea, right? For the aura stacking setup. We're going to scale the DPS. I already showed you this, how we're going to scale it. I think for a Vorax item, we are going to be getting the Warcry effect from Kraggles. So, if you don't know what that is, Kraggles Roar is a new legend added last patch, or like this patch, I think. Which has this line. For each different Warcry cast, plus 4 to 6 to the minimum number of enemies affected. So the way that Warcries work in this game is, by default, every Warcry has like, every Warcry has like this, right? -2% additional damage taken for each enemy affected, stacking up to 8 times. So, if something is worded like this, where it says, to the minimum number of enemies affected by Warcry, essentially what this is saying is, even if your Warcry is only hitting 1 enemy, it is going to fake add 4 to 6 enemies and give you the effect of it. So, if I'm cast Resurrection Warcry, and I have plus 6 to the minimum number of enemies affected, it is always going to give me the -12% additional from this Resurrection Warcry. And this stacks up to a max of 8 times. But if you go into the Brave tree, you actually gain access to Formless, which gives you doubles max Warcry skill effects. This doubles that cap from 8 to 14. Sorry, from 8 to 16. So if you have a max roll Kraggles, that's going to give you +6 to minimum effective enemies. And we're always going to be using 2 Warcries. We're going to be using Resurrection Warcry for defense, and then we're going to be using an offensive Warcry for whichever skill we're using. If we're using a Sleep Strike skill, we're just going to use the Sleep Strike Warcry, which is going to always give us a minimum of 12 affected enemies by Warcries. And then in the Brave tree itself, there's +4 to the minimum number of enemies affected by Warcry. So this min 12 plus min 4 gives us the total 16. So every time we use a Warcry, we are always capped out on the number of enemies affected by the Warcries. We're always having the max benefit from it, and we can then scale Warcry effect. And then the second item that I want to Vorax, or like combine into our helmet, is Solar Ring from the Red Sun Ring. Wait, no. What is it called? What is it called? I just forgot the name. Broken Sun Ring, thank you. Broken Sun Ring. Because Broken Sun Ring gives us access to Solar Ring. And if you corrode Solar Ring, you get Corona. Now Corona gives you 50% additional damage. Enemies within the Corona take 30% additional damage. Gives 48% skill area, and again we're scaling skill area. And enemies within the Corona are considered to be within 3 meters of you. Why is that important? Because Vendetta's Your Trade actually does more damage the closer enemies are to you. Because we have this. After casting Vendetta, gain Incisive, which gives you 10% additional attack damage to enemies within 5 meters of you, which goes up to 20% for enemies within 2 meters of you. So if we have Corona on our Vorax item, we're always gaining this 17% or so additional attack damage for everyone we're hitting in this massive area of our Berserking Blade, which is just very strong. That's why I thought that making a Vorax helm would probably be the best item to make. And the reason we're making a helm is because we kind of want to have a crafted neck, which gives us access to Curse on Hit. And then other than that, we're going to have a crafted chest, which is going to have +1 Curse on it. We're going to have Ghost Slaughters, because they're just very, very powerful for this build. Then, if I do go for Aura stacking, I'll do Lone Walkers. Otherwise, I think crafted boots don't even seem that bad. I'm very 50-50 on like which one I think it's going to be better, which one I want to do. I do think Lone Walkers is going to be like the more whale version, though. We're going to have times to craft a weapon, times to craft a neck with +1 Curse on Hit on the neck. We're going to have times to crafted rings with Curse on Hit on the ring. And then we're going to use Eternity, and for bossing, we'll just swap it out to a Light Hunter belt. You could consider a crafted belt as well. The reason I don't like a crafted belt is when I do Eternity setups, I like to be res capped without Eternity. Like without my belt equipped. So when I equip my Eternity, I'm not like not res capped and randomly dying. And then in that case, you want to just use Light Hunter belt. Because the idea of the setup is our chest is going to be pure armor. Just get as much armor as possible. And the rest of the gear will just do Energy Shield. Because there's no reason not to. And that's the main reason I was thinking about doing Lone Walkers. Because then we get access to Energy Shield aura and the Armor aura. Which is very, very powerful. And lastly, for our Prism, we want to use Unmatched Valor. What Unmatched Valor does is it gives us a fixed fervor rating of 130, which also is really nice, because if we go into the Ronin tree, we can then take Centralize, which makes us take minus 0.8% additional damage per 1 fervor point, and we consume half of our fervor points. So if we always have 130 fervor points and we're consuming half of them, we are consuming 65 fervor points, but again, we're not consuming it because we're fixed to 130, and we are receiving 52% reduced damage, like minus additional damage. So that's just another defensive layer on top of all our other defensive layers. Is very, very strong. But something you consider for the early game is the way that the organ crafting works is that in order to like donate a legendary organ, you need to have a material with you. And let's see, where's the page? What? Oh no, I lost the organ page. Okay, I have no idea where I put the how to get back to that page. But in essence, the way organ crafting works is you need a special material that you craft with the item. Maybe I can actually go to this video and quickly show you. So yeah, when he clicks on this organ, fire shielding prosthetics, you see this material. There's 3 tiers of material. There's a blue one, a purple one, and then like a legendary one. I'm going to assume that the blue one is going to be rather common. And as an early like Vorax item that we can make is to just go and farm the troves to get the Spy's Shadow and Mercurial Torment, and then just combine those two together. And then what we want to do is from the Spy's Shadow, we're going to grab the additional shadow damage, and from Mercurial Torment, or you can also just take the plus 2 shadows, like both are fine. And from Mercurial Torment, we're going to be taking the additional elemental damage, the enemies of ailments. But what's our ailment? You know, what? Are we even applying an ailment? I thought we were playing Berserk Blade. That's where the cheese comes in. That's where the interesting parts come in. So I did a lot of thinking about like what to do for the early game, what to do for your starter. And what I think is going to be the best play is on League Start, we're going to start as Erica 2. We're going to reach level 3, or like kill the first like boss that isn't the tutorial boss, until we get Haunt, and then we're going to mule over Thunderspike, Haunt, and Spiral Strike. We're going to log on to Erica 3, and we're just going to grab these instantly and just level with Thunderspike. And we're going to play Thunderspike until we hit level 63. Or whenever you get your 3rd main talent. What I mean by 3rd main talent is that you have like 24 points in your first tree, right? 24 points in your second tree, and then 24 points in your third tree. Whenever you unlock the 24 points for your third tree, that is when we want to do the swap. And what we're going to be swapping is we're going to go from playing Thunderspike to Frostspike. We're going to swap our Assassin tree, so we're going to go Harness of Hunting, Blade Runner Assassin. But we're going to swap from Assassin to Prophet, and we're going to play Frostspike until we hit BB. So why Frostspike? What does Frostspike do? Well, there's a few things you get from going Frostspike. So the first main thing is the Prophet tree is actually quite powerful, and the rework to Frostbite is very, very powerful. So, in the Prophet tree, we gain access to Extreme Coldness, which is a 50 max Frostbite rating. We get some more max Frostbite rating from Mirror, and we get, you know, just Focus Blessing generation, which is quite powerful. The way that the new Frostbite works is when you equip a Frostbite skill, you just give the enemy 10 Frostbite. And that 10 Frostbite just makes them take 10% additional damage. But then if you scale your Frostbite, like your Frostbite rating up, the enemy takes 1% additional damage for every Frostbite rating. So if we're like giving them 50 max Frostbite rating from this, we're in essence making them take another 50% additional damage. So instead of taking 10% additional damage, they're now taking 60% additional damage. And if we can scale this all the way up to 100%, which is where it caps, then we also start freezing the enemies. And the way the freezing works is you freeze the enemies for 2 seconds, then there's a 3-second interval where they're not frozen and just at 100 frostbite, and then you freeze them again for 2 seconds. So Frostbite, if we reach 100% so the way we reach 100% frostbite rating is Frostbitten gives us 50, the tree gives us 21, and then we just get the last 19 from our rings, because there's like advanced mods on the rings for it, to get 100% frostbite rating. So then we're getting 20% additional damage because of Focus Blessings, because normally we'd not be able to access Focus Blessings this early on. we get 100% from Frostbite. Frostbite itself has 201% skill scaling. And then Frostbite also shoots out 4 projectiles. And those projectiles give it additional damage. So we're getting another 16% from the projectile damage scaling, which gives us a total multiplier of 8.63, which is, in the early game, quite respectful. That's very, very good. And my plan is just to play Frostbite, because I think the skill is going to feel way better than Thunderspike at least. And freezing screens is going to make you feel way safer as like an Erica 3, just flickering around. I plan on playing Frostbite until I can swap to BB. Now, the point at which you can swap to BB is going to just, it depends how bad you want to play Berserking Blade, really. Literally, if you have the supports, you can swap for it. I personally will only swap to Berserking Blade when I have the supports. What are the supports? We want Rampage and... Oh, Rampage is the main one we want. Because this is the one that gives us the skill area scaling. But also you can get Sweep, which is giving us more skill area scaling. I'm not entirely sure if Sweep was actually worth it. I need to do the math on it, I just haven't yet. But there might be a world where Sweep just isn't actually worth using. I'll do the math on it eventually and it'll be in the guide. You want to have 100% Sleep Strike chance? Now you only need 80% Sleep Strike, by the way. Because Berserking Blade itself gives you 20%. And I want to have Ghost Slaughters. Because Ghost Slaughters is what's going to really make these supports like impact me and feel like they're good. Because once I have Ghost Slaughters, I gain way more AoE scaling, and all of a sudden, my Berserking Blade is starting to clear the whole screen, and it just feels way better. And then at this point, you're going to just swap from Prophet to Ronin. Now, you might be asking what's your 4th tree going to be, because I didn't mention the 4th tree. Your 4th tree is just going to be Brave. Why Brave? Because we're just going to be playing Warcries. Warcries is really broken. Brave makes you super tanky, it gives you a ton of armor, which is really great. It gives you Formless, it gives you min Warcries, it's just really good. There is a universe where, maybe depending on how... There's a universe where you have Ronin as your 4th tree while playing Frostbite. In fact, it's a very likely universe. In fact, I think at this point, we would probably just go... You would probably just go Ronin already. And then instead of swapping Prophet to Ronin, you would swap Prophet to Brave. If we're being more realistic. But if you're not getting to enough min Warcries and stuff, you can also just run Ranger. Ranger is very good for Vendetta. It has a lot of crit in it. It has critical strike damage per fervor rating, which is very good because we're scaling fervor rating. It has Morgue effect in it. It has damage from proximity, and again, we are teleporting on all the enemies. This is just always going to be active basically on the main enemy we're attacking. And overall, it has crit elimination. It's just a very, very solid tree. With Lucky Crit, if you want Lucky Crit. Keep it up, which is one of the strongest main skills in the game, if you can actually sustain the crit rating. And Impending, which I don't like the ramp up, but it is very good in bossing and stuff. But yeah. I think that's gonna be all from me, chat. I think that's gonna be all from me, YouTube. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll try to update the description of this video once I'm done with my Erica 3 guide. It is still gonna be a while. It's been a mess here. I've been traveling all about and just not really having time to do content creation. But I am very excited to play Erica 3 in the new season, and I'll try my best to put out a really good guide. I want to make a guide that's just supremely good. Thank you all so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and all those things. And I'll see you all again later. Bye, YouTube!